Hey everyone, this is Miss Gabriel. I'm going to share with you my math notebook, and I am on 4.NBT.1, which stands for the 4th grade, numbers in base 10, goal number 1. The first thing I am going to talk about are the place values. We have the ones place, tens, hundreds, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. You can see that after every third number, there's a comma. You always start in the ones place, ones, tens, hundreds, comma, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, comma, and millions. When you're working with NBT1, a lot of times they're going to ask you for the value of the number, a digit in a number. So for example, they're going to use the number 82,364, and they're going to ask you, what is the value of that 8? Oftentimes you'll hear them use the word digit, this number right here. Remember that the word digit is just another word for number. So the best strategy to do this so that you don't get them wrong is to underline the number they're asking you to determine the value for, copy it either below it or above it, wherever you have space on your worksheet, and then fill in behind it with zeros. So I just go like that. That way I will never get it wrong. A lot of times when we do these, we forget a 0, and that's how we'll get the place value wrong. So again, I'm going to copy down the 8 from the 8,000s place, and then I'm going to fill in the zeros. So I know the value of the 8 in this number is 8,000. Again, this number is 1,324,968. I'm going to copy down the 3, which is in the 100,000s place value, and all the places behind it become zeros. That's all you do to figure out the value. Make sure that when they ask you that question, what is the value of a number, do not just write the place value. If they asked you, what is the value of the 3 in this number, you can't say 100,000. You need to be able to say it's worth 300,000. So the value is how much it is worth. Okay, so that's what I wrote here in my notebook. The place value of a digit in a number determines its value, not where it is. Be careful with those. Okay, down here is some more examples of the same thing. So if I have the number 45,267 and they're asking me for the value, I know it's worth 200 because it is a 2 in the hundreds place. If I have 94,316 and they're asking me the value of the 9, I know it is 90,000 because the 9 is in the 10,000s place. Be sure you read them closely. That's how people get these wrong. We're going to do some quick practice. So make sure you read the directions so you know exactly what they're asking you. Here it is, find the value of the underlying digit. So like I told you before, I copy the number below it and I fill in with zeros. That way I'll never get this wrong. Then I can write it on the line. This one's easy because it's in the ones place, so I know it's just worth 3. Copy down, fill in with zeros. Copy down, fill in with zeros. And copy down and 1 0. Okay, I did that row. You could try this row next to it and see if you can get those right. Below it says identify the digit in the given place value. So now they're asking you to tell them what number is in a particular place value. So be careful, make sure you read directions closely. Number 11 is in the number 56,821, which digit is in the hundreds place? So I have to look at the number and I have to go ones, tens, hundreds. So I see that that 8 is in the hundreds place. In the number 247,139, which digit is in the 10,000s place value? So I'm going to look at the number ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds. So I'm in the thousands unit now, and I see that the 4 is in the 10,000 place. Okay, the last one's pretty easy. It's in the number 3,186,425, which digit is in the millions place. And that one's pretty easy because we know that the 3 is all the way out here. So we're going to put that down. All right. We're going to move on to the next part of 4.NBT.1, and that is comparing the value of a digit and a number to another digit. Sometimes it's going to be in the same number like this, and sometimes we're going to be comparing two numbers and two different larger numbers. To get started, I like to show this chart first because to me it's a little easier to understand. Don't get stressed out if you don't get this right away. It takes a little while to let it sink in, but once you start practicing, you're going to get the hang of it. So sometimes you just kind of have to listen to this and then practice, and all of a sudden it'll click. Of course, you can always come and ask me questions during Math Center's time as well. If you look at a number and you're comparing two numbers that are in the place value right next to each other, like the ones place and the tens place, they're only one jump apart. If they're one jump apart, they're going to be 10 times either larger or smaller than the other number. If you're looking at two numbers that are 2 spots apart, like from the ones place value and the hundreds place, that's 2 jumps, like 1, 2, and that's going to be 100 times larger or smaller than the number. And then it keeps going. So if you're looking at a number that is then 3 spots apart, like from the 1000s place to the ones place, that's 1, 2, 3 jumps, that's going to be 1000s. So if you noticed, each time I jump, I add a 0. 1 jump is 10, 2 jumps is 100, so I know that 2 zeros in there is what's 2 jumps. 3 jumps is 1000, 3 zeros, 3 jumps. And that kind of shows you right here in your notebook how many times bigger or smaller. Now the tricky part is figuring out if it's 10 times bigger or 10 times smaller. If you look here at the chart at the top, right here it says to compare the two values of the 2. The value of the 2, underline 2, is 10 times greater than the value of the other 2. That's because they're one jump apart, and the underlined 2 is in front of, up near the higher place values. So I know now that this one is larger because that's worth 2 million, and I know this place value is worth 200,000. And really 200,000 times 10 is 2 million. So I know that it's one jump forward, and that means 10 times greater. Let's look at the next one over here. Now they're comparing the values of the 5s. So they're asking us about the underlined 5, which I can see right off the bat is behind the other 5, which in my head now I already know it's going to be smaller because that one is worth 5 tens, which is 50, and this one is worth 5 hundreds, which is 500. So I see that they're one jump or one place value apart, and so I know it's going to be 10 times, and I know that that underlined 5 is 10 times less. Now we're going to practice this skill. The first thing we have here is that we are identifying the values of the 7s in each of these two numbers. The first number I have is 7,892, and I know that the 7 is worth 7,000. In this number, 34,706, I know the 7 is worth 700. They're asking me to tell them, is this place value greater or less than? So the first number is in the thousands place, and the thousands place is in front of the hundreds place. So right off the bat, I can see that the number they're asking me to compare is going to be, this 7 is going to be larger than that 7. I know that it's 10 times because if I stack the numbers up, I can see that it's one jump ahead of the other. So I can put in the 10 because I know it's one jump and that's 10. And I know that this 7 is 10 times larger than the other 7 in this number. Okay, I'm going to look at this one. This one is asking me about the 7 in 5,073. I know that 7 is worth 70. And I know this 7 in 18,749 is worth 700. So I can see that this 7 is in the tens place and this one is in the hundreds, which is going to be one jump. So I know it's going to be 10 because it's from the tens place to the hundreds place, one jump. So I know it's going to be 10. So I can write in here the value of the 7 in 5,073 is 10 because it was one jump. Now I have to figure out if it's smaller or larger. So they're asking me, is the 7 in this number, where the 7 is in the tens place, smaller or larger than the 7 here? This 7 is in the hundreds place. So this one is smaller because it's in the tens place. So I can write in the word smaller. I hope that helps. Please feel free to come and talk to me at Center's Time if you need more instruction.